we crave to have an ecosystem and a community of people that can that we can feed off of. So mentorship is that community, right? I feel like everyone should have both ends. I think that you as an individual, as a person, it's great to have a mentor that's pouring into your life, right? But it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop there, right? There's a cycle to this. And so if I have a mentor that's pouring into my life and that's helping me navigate all the different things that I need to navigate when it comes to being an entrepreneur, what is my job as a person? My job now is to reciprocate that and to pour into someone else's life.
You're listening to the Black to Business Podcast, an educational podcast providing Black entrepreneurs with the tools and resources to start and grow their businesses. We chat with vetted Black entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and business owners as they provide tips and resources to help take your business to the next level. I'm your host, Monique T. Marshall. No matter what kind of industry you're in, having a great mentor is a key factor in becoming successful. Studies show that nearly 70% of small business owners that receive mentoring survive for 5 years or more, double the rate of those who do not receive mentoring. So in other words, business owners and entrepreneurs statistically set themselves up for failure if they do not have a mentor. Understanding how crucial mentors are to the success of business, today we wanted to dive deeper into how to find a mentor who aligns with your needs, what the mentor-mentee relationship looks like, and the benefits of having a mentor. Joining us to discuss the importance and value of mentorship in business is Khalilah Webster, co-founder and chief innovator at Vanguarde Consulting Group, which is a leading business strategy and technology consultancy operating in New York City. We invited Khalilah to the show because mentorship is the underbelly of her company, where they focus on providing guidance and one-on-one mentor relationships with entrepreneurs. Her company is also contracted with the City of New York, and it runs the BENYC program, which is a program focused on connecting Black entrepreneurs to professionals who can help grow their businesses at no cost. We'll even discuss the importance of being intentional in giving back and prioritizing being a mentor during this conversation. So let's dive in. This episode is brought to you by NY Beauty Suites, a shared rental and retail space designed specifically for beautypreneurs and wellness professionals. Founded by Joanne Briere, NY Beauty Suites is the first private workspace option for state-licensed and insured beauty and wellness professionals in New York City with 2 premier Brooklyn locations. The shared flexible workspace features services like hair, makeup, facials, braiding, waxing, etc. In addition to these services, NY Beauty Suite offers suites ranging in size from 96 to 500 square feet for rent by the hour, daily, or monthly. Each rental includes professional cleaning, sanitation procedures, utilities, Wi-Fi, and 24-hour access to a secure building. Also, if you're a content creator, it's the perfect space to ensure you have everything you need to create jaw-dropping content with their all-inclusive photography and podcast studio. Visit nybeautysuites.com to learn more about NY Beauty Suites and how you can make it your home for working and innovating. Khalilah, welcome to the Black to Business Podcast. So we're switching it up because you interviewed me at NY Beauty Suites and now I am getting to interview you. So I am so excited about today's conversation. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Monique, for having me. Yes, I did interview you and it was such a pleasure. And thank you so much for having me on your show.
Of course. So I always like to start this way and introduce, well, for my listeners who are not yet familiar with who you are, just share a little bit about who you are and what is it that you do in your business. And I know we're going to dive in, but a little bit about how did you get where you are today?
Okay. Well, I'm Khalilah Webster, and I have several businesses. My main business, which is Infront Strategies, is my umbrella corp, and it houses all of the different businesses that I have. Mainly, I work with, I'm contracted through the City of New York, so I work with New York City Public Schools, and I also work in the area of entrepreneurship and development. And so, yeah, so that's pretty much what I'm doing now. But my background and in the past, I started out, I was in the performing arts.
Wow.
Yeah. I went to LaGuardia High School for the performing arts, and I could have sworn that I was going to be an actress, and a musical theater performer. And, I was a theater rat. And so that's what I did for a long period of time. I did a lot of commercials, I did modeling, I did acting. But once I got into college, I realized, that I wanted to do other things. So I started my first business straight out of college. I went to
Wow.
Brooklyn College. Yeah. Yeah, I started my first business, and I had my first business for about 7 years before I closed that down and then started the business that I have now.
So amazing. And now, when you say you started your first business out of college, did you go into the job market or you were just full-time entrepreneur?
No, so I did start as I was in college, I was working. So I did work as a part-time teller at a bank. And then I quickly moved up in the banking industry. So I started as a part-time teller. Then the next thing you know, I was a full-time teller, went from that to a senior sales rep to then, before I left the banking industry, I was a business banker, and I was going for my Series 7 exam, so that I can sell insurance. And so that I was on a path to that. The banking industry, I had a knack for. I didn't know that I had a knack for that. And, so I just kept getting promoted and just kept advancing. However, I just wasn't happy. Like, I didn't see myself being in the banking industry long term. I was very creative. I was very creative. I was I called myself an innovator before people really started using the word innovator. How
Right.
they use it a lot now. I thought of
Yes.
that. Yeah, and let me tell you, that was in 2003. 2003, I opened up my first business. And so I've been an entrepreneur since it's going on. Well, it's 19 years now, right?
Wow.
So next year will be 20 years fully.
I love it. And that's I know we've spoken a couple of times, and really that's really why I wanted to have you on the show, because being in the entrepreneurship space for as many years of you as you have been, I we often talk about mentorship, and I know that's something that we haven't discussed on the podcast, but I also know it's something that you're very passionate about. So I'm sure you get a lot of people come up to you wanting for you to be their mentor, just give them advice. So I kind of want to dive into business mentorship, and the value of it. First, I want to start with the importance of business mentorship. So in your opinion, what is a mentor?
Yeah. Yes, mentorship is important in general, but if I had to think about what a mentor is, especially a business mentor, because there's different
Mm-hmm.
types of mentors, right? And so a business mentor is someone who has experience in perhaps the same industry or a similar industry that you trust, someone that you trust. Someone that can advise you as you are making business decisions, and someone that can share with you the do's and the don'ts, right? And
Right.
sometimes those mentors also introduce you to different relationships and resources. I think that's key. Mentorship is a very special place, that's occupied as it, being a mentor myself, and also being a mentee, because I have some
Mm-hmm.
phenomenal mentors that I look up to. It's very it's a special place that it holds in your heart. It's someone that you can go to even when you at your like lowest point and you just don't know where to go and where to turn, who to speak to about certain things, and you find yourself getting frustrated. A mentor is someone that you can speak to, and that they're going to impart words of wisdom, and encouragement for you. And it's not coming from an empty place. It's coming from a place that they know, because they have gone through the same trials and tribulations that you're going through, and they've been
Mm-hmm.
able to overcome that. And that's the reason why someone would want to have a mentor in their life.
I love it. I love it. And like you said, that experience and going before you, which is so key. And I want to talk about, because there's this idea of what a mentor is, but I kind of want to also dive into what a mentor isn't. Any thoughts on what, for you, your opinion of that?
Right. I think a mentor, well, one thing is, and we can talk about that too. A mentor is not someone, I feel like being a mentor, you have that person speaks truth, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so they're not there to give you the fluff, right? They're there to
Right.
give you the hardcore truth of the particular industry and things of that nature. So, what I definitely would say is, a mentor, although a mentors can be your friend, but mentors, they don't have to be your friend in that capacity, in that respect. I hold my mentors in high regards. I protect them. And,
Mm-hmm.
you may not see me. I may be, I may go out with my girlfriends and have a whole different type of vibe, right? But then, when I'm out with my mentor, it's, it's, it's an intentional conversation that's being had, right? And so I would say, and some may argue, a mentor is not there to be your like ride or die best friend.
Right.
you know, that's not what a mentor is, right? And there is a difference where, you may have peer mentoring, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mentorship and what that looks like peer to peer. So that's a different type of mentorship, but you have someone that is more experienced than you, that understand the landscape of exactly what you're about to navigate, that you hold that person in high regards, and there's a respect, measure that's there. And so, one, I would definitely say that your mentor is not your ride or die friend. Okay, that's
Not one of your
definitely
friends.
not what a mentor is.
Right. Yeah. And I love that you said that because it makes me think about when you need that transparency and when you need that, I wouldn't say, well, tough love in order for
Yeah,
you, especially when it comes to business, to grow in your industry. You don't need a yes person. You need someone, like you said, with experience, but also who's going to be transparent with you so that you can grow.
right. That's the point. The role of a mentor. I always say this is the three things that a mentor should have. Right. A
Mm-hmm.
mentor should guide. A mentor should listen, and a mentor should ask lots of questions. And so you think is that, and that's a mentor, right? That's the role of the mentor. So you would think it will be in the reverse, right? And there's some truth in that too, because a mentee is also a person that is listening and also asking questions. But as a mentor, you want to you want to ask questions, because when you ask questions, then you kind of like you're probing so that you can hear exactly what, the mentee is trying to communicate. Sometimes it's difficult to communicate the challenges that you may be facing when you're in business, right? And so I think what's important is that the mentor's role is to ask not only just a lot of questions, but the right questions, so that
Mm-hmm.
they can tap into exactly what the needs are, for that particular mentee.
Love it. And so, Khalilah, would you say, well, one, I want to ask, because you kind of touched on it, is the role of a mentee in this relationship as well. So, what do you think the role of a mentee is in that mentee relationship?
Right. So just like a mentor, the role of a mentee is, of course, to ask questions, right?
Right.
Ask as many questions, right? As many questions as you can. Another role is to listen. You're there to listen. You're there to listen and to take notes. All right. And the third thing that I would say is that the role of a mentee is to implement. So
Mm,
after you ask questions, you listen, your role is to implement, right? You implement all of the things that you've been learning and the things that you've been talking about with your mentor. that's your job, is to implement whatever it is that you need to implement, whatever it is that the mentor is charging you to do.
Love it. And I always like to make it a full circle. So you have kind of touched on what makes a great mentor. I want to talk about when it comes to business mentoring. Why do you feel, because you also mentioned that you have mentors, but you also have mentees. So you have that experience on both ends. Why do you feel that entrepreneurs need mentors, and speak to some of the benefits?
Yes, absolutely. So I always have this image, right? Of us as people, right?
Mm-hmm.
We people thrive on community, right? That's the way
Right.
we thrive. We thrive in community. And I always say this saying, like, we're not an island by ourselves. We crave for support. We crave for like-mindedness. We crave, I said support, right? But we crave to have an ecosystem and a community of people that that we can feed off of. So mentorship is that community, right? I feel like everyone should have both ends. I think that you as an individual, as a person, it's great to have a mentor that's pouring into your life, right? But
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't stop there, right? There's a cycle to this. And so if I have a mentor that's pouring into my life and that's helping me navigate all the different things that I need to navigate when it comes to being an entrepreneur, what is my job as a person? My job now is to reciprocate that and to pour into someone else's life. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's the benefit. As I'm being poured into, I have I'm full, right? You're full with everything now. And now you should be at a point where you're overflowing. And when you're overflowing, that should pour right into other people that are also in need and of help and support and guidance as well. So this is a a circle type of situation here, right? Mentorship
Mm-hmm.
is a circle. It's a cycle, right? You have a mentor, you're being mentored to, and you also are being mentored to other people. And it's important because the benefit of that particular model is that you're seeing your community grow, right?
Right.
That's how you build community. That's how you build a foundation. That's how you can literally see the fruit of everything that you've done over the years. Sometimes people have built businesses and you turn around and you look around and they become isolated and they're by themselves. And the reason for that is that they haven't been able to deposit and pour into others. When you pour into others, people are appreciative, and then they want to kind of pour back into what you've done, and you get around, you get a chance to look at the fruit of everything that you have planted, all the seeds that you planted. And so I think that that's the benefit. The benefit is you eventually building community.
I love that. I love it. I love it because, and that's why I really wanted to talk about this on the podcast, because I know so many entrepreneurs who just feel alone and they are looking for guidance, and they don't know the next steps, but they're feeling alone. And I often think about, if you had that mentor or someone in your life to kind of like just show you the ropes, how valuable that would be, and how so many entrepreneurs are operating in silos and, like you said, alone. So,
Mm-hmm.
yes. I
Yeah.
love that.
When I started out as an entrepreneur,
Mm-hmm.
20 years ago, I felt isolated. I felt alone. No one else,
Mm-hmm.
as much as we talk about entrepreneurship now, no one really 20 years ago was talking about entrepreneurship.
Right. And you
The
were the first to say
right.
innovator, well, like you said before.
Yeah, like most of my friends, they were, graduating college and getting these big time jobs at like
Mm-hmm.
record labels, TV networks, that was their goal. And when I would talk about entrepreneurship, they look at me like I had like two heads on my shoulders. They were like, "Girl, what are you about to go get yourself one of these, jobs at the record labels?" Because they were hiring. Like I
Right.
used to work, I used to do things with Rockaware and with Twism called Kanai. I used to work for those companies, but the fact of the matter is like that just wasn't my desire. That wasn't my dream.
Mm-hmm.
So I was isolated for a while because no one was really, really rooting and advocating for entrepreneurship, especially in the Black community.
Right, exactly. And so you spoke about, finding well, I want to talk about ways to find mentors because someone is listening and they're like, I know I need a mentor. I know I need some guidance. What would you advise someone go to look for a mentor?
Yeah. So, well, one, they can actually, I so happen, I'm contracted with the city, and my company is running the BE Mentors program. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's a city program that is focused on advancing Black entrepreneurship in New York City. So they can definitely go if they're looking for an entrepreneur. I mean, if they're looking for a mentor, they can go to BE mentors.nyc. That's first and foremost.
I will
um,
definitely put that in the show notes.
yes. And they can definitely find a mentor that's seasoned, and they can have a conversation with them. It's not an ongoing mentorship program. It is kind of like a one-time type of situation. However, it's a start, right? But outside of that, if you're looking for a mentor, I say do your research, right? Um, do your research on different people in your industry, find out exactly what they're doing. And then
Mm-hmm.
also you may, we all are accustomed to getting on social media, and sometimes it can be a little bit cyber stalking. But
Yes.
that's a part of the research, right, Monique?
Yes,
It's
it
a part of
is.
the research, just to find out a little bit more about the person that you're interested in, to maybe being your mentor. I always say let it happen organically. The organic relationships are the best, right? You don't want anything to be forced, right? But you want to be intentional about it as well. So I always say put yourself in spaces and rooms that's different than you're used to. Don't always keep yourself in the same circles, because once you exhausted all of those relationships, that's nice, those are great relationships to have, but step outside the box and be in places and spaces that's a little bit different than where what you're used to, because then you can spark conversations with someone that may be on a different level at that juncture than you, maybe someone who's been doing it for a long time. You never know. And then you can have a genuine conversation and then build a genuine relationship with that person. And then you'll be able to find out if they would be interested in being your mentor. And I think that happened to me. I had found my mentor, and I was I was just be doing things different, going to different
Mm-hmm.
conferences, and I would go by myself. I don't really need people, right? I would just go by myself. I'll just be in the room, meeting different people. And that's what happened. I met someone, and we hit it off, you know what I'm saying? That's because we were predominantly the only two Black women there, but she was the feature speaker. You know what I'm saying?
See?
Right? In a room full of everybody. But
Yeah.
we saw each other, right? We had that in common. And after that, it's been amazing. We've been rocking with each other. And I would say it in that way because I think at this juncture, I still keep her in the regards of a mentorship, role,
Mm-hmm.
because and mentorship relationship. Um, and and it's been really, really great. She's been able to help me navigate some tough things in my business journey, in my business life. And so I say put yourself out there, be in different spaces and different rooms, and build an organic relationship with people.
Love that. And for you, well, for her, it was also probably seeing you, show up by yourself and just like she could see the ambition and saying like, okay,
Mhm.
this is what I would want in a mentee or something like that. So,
Yeah,
like you said, putting yourself out there in different spaces. So, yes,
yeah,
I love it.
absolutely.
And Khalilah, would you say, so someone is listening, they're like, okay, I have this person in mind that I want to be my mentor. Should I just reach out cold or should I just nurture the relationship, maybe follow them for a while? Like, what would you suggest?
Yeah, I would say nurture the relationship first.
Mm,
Because some people are, they understand the concept of mentorship, but sometimes they're, it can be a little bit like, oh, it could be a lot, right? It's like, wow, well, what does that look like? What does that mean?
mm-hmm.
So you don't want to just like shock people off the bat. However, I do, on the flip side of that, I do tell people to be intentional. So I feel like there is a timetable to this. Nurture the relationship, reach out in a way where it's just very light. But at some point, you want to be intentional. You don't want to just have a relationship for a long period of time and you haven't told that person, hey, I'm in need of a mentor and I would love for you to be my mentor, and then you can explain what that will look like. But don't waste that time. As soon as you nurture the relationship, you kind of get familiarized with each other. Then that will be a perfect time right after that to say what you're interested in, what you want, and be intentional about it. So I can't
Okay.
I can't give you a time, like I can't say like exactly when, but I
Right.
feel like you as a person, you would know,
Mm-hmm.
when the time is right.
One time. And something that you mentioned I want to go back to is what that looks like. So one of my questions is, in your opinion, how does a mentor differ from a consultant or a coach or, someone thinking like, oh, you should pay for my services versus, people really understanding what the differences are?
Right, right. So one thing is you have to be clear about mentors. They don't get paid, right? You don't get paid to be a mentor. so,
Mm-hmm.
so I feel like that's the reason why, remember I told you in the beginning, I hold
Mm-hmm.
mentorship at a high regard. It's a trusted relationship. You got to build that trust. You got to build that transparency because that person who gets paid probably speak or to teach or to be a coach or a consultant, right? The difference between that mentorship, there's no exchange, monetary exchange for that. That's the mentor seeing something in the mentor. I mean, the mentor seeing something in the mentee, and the mentee seeing something in the mentor, and there is a mutual um, exchange and gain from it, right? But the difference is that a business coach encourages and supports you in a different way than a mentor does. Coaches help you to set business goals and strategies, right? That's the difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
Coaches will help you set goals, they'll help you set strategies, they will support you as you implement the plan, right?
Mm.
That's the difference. Coaches are not mentors. Coaches are there to help you set certain things that, what's the game plan, and they will help you create that game plan. However, their job is not to implement that game plan. That's your job as the entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
Coaches will identify where you need to course correct, and they will also hold you accountable.
Mm-hmm.
That's what coaches are doing. They're like your biggest cheerleaders. The
Mm-hmm.
difference between a coach and a business consultant is that a business consultant, unlike the coach, will advise you, but also they will also create the goal and strategy. And in addition to that, they are paid to implement the strategy. Their
Mm.
job is to project manage. Their job is to set timelines. And their job is to meet deliverables set by the business owners. That's the
Mm.
difference between a business consultant, a business coach, and a business mentor. All of them are different. And I think a lot of people, they don't know what they need. They don't know what they want. So they're like, oh, I need a business consultant. And then I'll sit down with them and I'm like, you don't need a business consultant. You just need a mentor. Oh, okay. I may need a business coach. And then come to find out, oh no, you don't need a business coach. You need a business consultant, right? There are three different things.
So it's really being clear about what you need. And I think not even just rushing through the process, is just really sitting down and saying, okay, what do I need in my business? Where am I and what do I need? And who would be best fit to help me get there?
Right. Right. So, right. The thing is, you pay the coach to kind of help you to get from point A to point B, but you're doing all the work. You're doing the work. They're there to just kind of hold you accountable, keep on you and get you where you need to go. But they're not doing the work for you. When you pay a consultant, you sit down with the consultant, you map out exactly what you're looking for and what you want, and the consultant comes back and say, okay, here is our plan. This is what we're going to do. And the consultant, they do the work. Right?
Love it. Clear.
Very clear.
Right. Okay, so we have talked about the differences, what a mentor is and isn't. And someone is listening and they're thinking, well, one, I want to go to, how do you know if it's a good fit?
That's good. I think a part of that will come from the research that you do. One, you want to pick a mentor. You want to pick a mentor that's in your industry, right? Someone who maybe have a similar business model as you, so that you know that that person is can speak directly to that business. That business model. But as far as a good fit, that's the reason why you want to kind of do the groundwork first, having that initial building that initial conversations around just trying to like figure out whether or not if this is a good fit or not. I think that that's what's important. Getting a chance to know the person prior to you asking whether or not if this person can be a mentor. I think you will know that prior to you asking. If you just go and say, hey, I saw you on LinkedIn and I really would like you to be a mentor, but that normally doesn't really work too well. One is because you don't really know the person. You don't know, what their temperament is like. You don't know, how, you don't really know anything about them yet. You just know what they have on paper. So that's the reason why you want to kind of get a chance to know the person first. You want to kind of nurture the relationship before you reach out and ask whether or not they can be a mentor. By that time, before you ask, you would know if they're a good fit or not.
And Khalilah, one of the things you mentioned before is that you've had mentors for years, and I want to talk about the length of the relationship. Do you feel that it's something that has a deadline, or is that something that is discussed, or do you think it's a relationship that's ever going like for however long?
Yeah, so like most relationships evolve, right? It evolves. And that's just what we have to understand that, and we have to deal with that as well. I don't go into a mentorship relationship thinking that it's going to last forever. And I also don't go into it thinking that there's a deadline. What I normally do is I allow it to be organic, and knowing how just regular relationships as human beings, we know how a regular relationship, whether it's an intimate relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend, or friendships, you know that there's ups and there's downs. People go through things in their life and then they're not as present anymore in that way. And that's okay. And you have to understand that you got to also realize that the people that's your mentor or your mentee, are humans, and they're going through things, and they may not always have the time or the space or the capacity to have a conversation with you and to help you. So understanding that philosophy and understanding what that looks like, I think that you can better prepare yourself for the ups and downs of the mentorship relationship. I never put a time on it, and I don't put a deadline, and I don't make the assumption that the mentorship relationship is going to last forever. I just let it do what it does. And I have mentors that maybe I don't speak to them for months, but yet when I text them or reach out to them, we pick up right where we left off, you know, and that's natural. And that's what works. You know, I think you also have to kind of figure out what works for you. And you also want to you also have to realize that the mentor that you have, the reason why you want to be there, you want them to be your mentor, is because that they're the bomb in their business, you know, like you want to be like them. But in order
Right.
for that person to be the bomb, they gotta work. They got a busy schedule. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
you can't hoard the person all to yourself, you know, and expect them to answer and be at your beck and call. You have to give them space. And so I feel like you have to just manage that. And so I think if I can leave a couple things, mentorship, relationship, there's no, infinite time to it. That's one. I wouldn't put a deadline, and allow the relationship to be organic, knowing that they're humans and that they're going to experience their own life. You know, life happens, and you want to be able to kind of give each other the space, proper space, so that the relationship can continue to mature over time.
I love that you mentioned that, setting those boundaries and
Yes.
being, giving the person the space, because it is true. They have to be great and have to have that time and that work to be great. So I love that. And you've mentioned, your experience with mentors. I want to kind of dive deeper into how really the importance of mentorship has played a role into your entrepreneurship journey. Because like in the beginning, you mentioned that you're managing several businesses, and you started in the beginning, you didn't have a mentor. So just how that has really shaped your journey.
Yeah, when I started out in 2003, it was myself and my first business partner, and we were in a bubble. You know, it was two black women starting our business, and it was rough. It was really, really rough. And we had to navigate so many different obstacles. And at the time, we didn't know a lot of women that were in business. And so we just kept pressing on and doing what we felt was right. And we were trying to figure everything out. And we were trying to figure everything out by ourselves. And the problem with that is that wasn't helpful, because we didn't move forward. We kept moving back because
Right.
we kept making certain mistakes. And we're like, oh my gosh, why did we do this? But we didn't realize that we needed a mentor. You know, we were in our early 20s, and, we thought we knew everything. We didn't know anything. But we
Good.
knew that we were passionate about our business, and we knew we wanted to help. I had a performing arts center in Brooklyn. And we serviced over 500 kids throughout the East New York, Brownsville, Canarsie area. So it was difficult. But when I closed my first business and I moved on and started a whole nother business, what I realized is I had to kind of evaluate what I did in my previous business that kind of set me back, right? I always say every setback is a setup for a comeback, right? So you don't want to dwell on the setbacks. It will prepare you for the comeback that you need to make. So I wrote a list of things that I felt like that was a setback in my old business, things that I just knew that I just made those mistakes and I should have learned. And now I'm trying to figure out, how can I learn from those mistakes? One of the things that kept coming up in that evaluation that I was doing on myself is the fact that I did not have a community of people that I can go to, I can reach out to, I can have conversations with about my business. I didn't have a mentor. I was in a bubble. And, didn't open myself up. I didn't put myself in different spaces. I didn't take as many risks as I should have taken. So knowing all of that, going into my new business, those were the things that I wanted to change. And like I mentioned before, you have to be intentional, because me just doing that evaluation, I learned so much about myself. And I learned all the mistakes that I made. And I knew that I couldn't move forward in my new business making those same mistakes. So every single thing that I had on that list, I had to flip it around. So I needed a mentor. That was the first thing that to I wanted to do. So how did I get a mentor? And I just talked about the process. I put myself in spaces that was sometimes uncomfortable. I was just like, okay, I don't know why I'm in this room. I don't know how I got here, but I'm here. And, I had a little bit of confidence. So I was like, all right, I'm going to be here. And, and one thing I can do, I would like to say I have a great personality, but, I don't know.
You do.
But I'm very social. I'm a social
Uh-huh.
person. So it's easy for me to walk over to people and have conversations. And so that was the gift that God has given me. And I was able to use that. And because of that, I was able to have these conversations, be in these rooms, and be able to get a mentor. And the mentorship moving forward was so helpful, because now I was able to have someone that I can go to that can help me, redirect me, that can tell me like the do's and the don'ts, that can kind of foresee certain things that may happen. And they will just warn me and say, hey, listen, I've been down that road. I've done that before. Let me share my story. That's important for a mentor. Another mentor's role is to share their story, right? It's important that you do that, because in that story, I'm learning lessons, right? As a mentee. So it was helpful to hear those things. And it's not just me learning those lessons. Now I'm taking those lessons and now I'm saying, okay, how can I implement this in my business? How can I change the way I do things based on what I just heard my mentor tell me? And it's been very, very helpful. The benefits of having a mentor has been so helpful. I think for the most part, it's just having that. It also brings an emotional support, because you realize that you're not the only one going through or have gone through this situation. So it's comforting to know that you have someone that is very successful, that has been down the same road that you're going on. And I think that that's one of the major benefits of having a mentor.
I love it. I love it. And, I love that. And I think that it speaks to the impact that you're also making. So I want to kind of talk about what you are doing to help solve these problems in the community. You're the founder of Vanguarde Consulting Group, which focuses on helping new businesses achieve results and produce these results. I want to talk about some of the ways that you are able to do that, but then also in your experience with working with entrepreneurs, some of the gaps that you see when it comes to them not having mentorship.
Yeah. So my company, Vanguarde Consulting Group, we believe that entrepreneurship drives true innovation and change. And that's why we lead smart conversations about doing business better. And we say that a lot because the fact of the matter is that that's the truth. We want to be able to provide a safe space for entrepreneurs to grow and to thrive. There are so many different gaps that I see, especially with Black entrepreneurs, that where we're not seen, and we're definitely underrepresented, represented as well. But at the end of the day, we're making those changes slowly but surely. I definitely can say that representation is very important, especially when it comes to Black businesses. And now in 2022, we're seeing more Black startups and businesses emerging in like the high tech, finance,
Mm-hmm.
beauty and wellness, which is great. However, we're not being seated at the table, right?
Mm-hmm.
The equity and the inclusion is not where it needs to be. So what do we do as Black entrepreneurs? We create our own table, right? All the
Right.
time.
That's
We
all we
create our
do.
own table so that our people can eat. And I think that that's great. And we're seeing that in pockets. So what our company is basically doing, we're creating a pipeline, a strategy for Black entrepreneurs to thrive by preparing them with business education and training, technology solutions, and the major thing is funding. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's key and that's important. And in addition to that, we also create mentorship and
Mm-hmm.
guidance. And mentorship is actually the underbelly of our corporation anyway. You know, um, we want to kind of walk alongside these entrepreneurs as they're navigating, this entrepreneurial lifestyle. And so that is one thing that Vanguard Consulting Group, that's what we do. We're with them, we're guiding them, we're helping them along the way, and we're providing that mentorship, that one-on-one mentorship, that mentorship relationship, so that they don't feel alone. They don't feel like how I felt when in 2003 when I first started my.
Mm-hmm.
They feel like that they are seen, that they're heard, and that they're going to get the support that they need so that they can be successful and have a sustainable business.
I love it. And Khalilah, talk about some of the other things that you're working on. I know you're the co-founder and managing member of MVP Accelerator, and then you serve as the executive director of the Open Door in Arts and Education Project. I just want to talk about more of your other projects and what they serve as.
Right. So those are all the arms to my business. Remember I mentioned in the beginning, I have infra
Mm-hmm.
strategy. That's the umbrella. And I
Okay.
always feel, I teach entrepreneurship for the city, and I say, listen, you want to have different streams of income, right? You
Mm-hmm.
know, so, I have multiple streams of income. The education piece is so important. My company, Open Door Arts and Education Project, we are working with New York City public schools, and our position in that is that we're trying to bring 21st century learners. We're educating them and bringing them to the forefront by providing them technology, entrepreneurship, arts, and media. So that's the focus of our Open Door Arts. We've learned over the years that our young people are digital natives. They're
Yes.
born into, right. They're born into this technology world, social media world. And we want them not to only be consumers, but we want them to be producers. We want them to be in the forefront of the cutting edge of like new technology, like AI and the virtual reality, things of that nature, the metaverse and things. But how does that happen? The regular public schools, they don't teach these things. They don't always have the resources. So with my company, what we do is that, we make sure that we partner with organizations and companies like Google and Microsoft so that we can bring in these high tech programs so that the young people can work and learn and develop. And hopefully by the time they decide to graduate from high school or college, they can be ready to go right into the workforce, right? Or if they don't want to be in the workforce, they can go right into becoming an entrepreneur, because we're also teaching them about entrepreneurship as well. And we're teaching them the value of mentorship at a young age. And so
Yes.
remember the circle that I was talking about?
Mm-hmm.
That's important for our young people to see. And we also have to continue to pour into them. And so we definitely do have a mentoring program. We have a girls mentoring program. We have a boys mentoring program, and we're teaching them the importance of giving back and planting seeds, and also making sure that they're there to see the fruit of their of the things that that they desire.
Yes, such a powerful message. And what you speak about is, like you said, being there and also giving back. And I want to end it with talking about the effort and commitment that it takes, even for those who are not looking for mentors, but possibly even thinking about having mentees. So you operate several businesses. I want to talk about how you find that time to give back. I know it's kind of ingrained in your business, but I want to touch on the effort that it requires in being intentional.
Yeah. Great question. Yeah, it's important. It's and like you mentioned, it's ingrained in me, just to give back, right? And it
Mm-hmm.
started out just, my family is known to just be able to give back. Even if we didn't have growing up, we would just, that was our founding principle. But I feel like giving back is important, and and that's what I do. And being intentional about that, I normally give back my time, my talent, and my treasure. And what does that mean? Is like my time is like I will take the time out to be in certain places to give of my service and to also help in any way that I can. So I have a lot of partners that I work with, a lot of nonprofit organizations that we work with. But not only that my company give back, but me personally, I think it's so important to give back to just different organizations, but not just giving back money. It's not all about money. I feel like sometimes people always think, oh, you give back, so you give back money. Yeah, that's nice. But sometimes people want you to show up, And what does that
Yeah.
look like? Showing up, I feel, is more impactful than money. Money is
Mm-hmm.
great. Money is here, money is tomorrow. Like money is here today and could be gone tomorrow. But young people and just people in general, they want to know how much you care.
Mm-hmm.
And by seeing you there and being there, taking the time out to just have a day with them, have a conversation with them, to let them know that they are seen, they are heard, is way more impactful. And that part is also giving back as well. So, yeah.
So what else is new with you? I'm pretty sure people who are listening are wanting to know, how can they work with you? How can they support you if they're an entrepreneur listening? So if you can just share how to do so.
Yeah, so a couple things that's going on with me right now. Working with partnering with NY Beauty Suites, and
Yes.
yes, and I'm looking to host a Women's History Month Power Brunch. It's a networking event that's going to be happening at the end of the month, March 26th. And so you can either go on my social media page, which is at Khalilah Webster 23, and you can find out additional information about that event. You can also go to my website, and that event is also going to be advertised on the website as well at KhalilahWebster.com. And so I'm looking forward to it. The last 2 years, I couldn't do my women's empowerment brunch that I normally do for Women's History Month. And, so I've been getting a lot of, hits in the email saying, hey, are you going to do it? Are you going to do it? So I'm really, really thrilled and happy to be working with Joanne and Peggy and Karen and you, Monique, over there at NY Beauty Suites to do this. So I'm excited about that. Working on some technology right now. My Open Door Arts and Education project. We just launched a new app in the App Store.
Whoa.
Yeah, to work. The app is mainly for schools and for students and teachers and administrators, but we're excited about that. And we have 2 more apps that we're gearing up to launch in the Apple Store and the Android as well. And so my focus is just working on intellectual property, technology, because I feel like, that's a better way a great path to sustainability when it comes to your business. And so So those are the things that I have coming up, and I'm excited about that.
Brilliant. I love it. And when you were saying that, it makes me think about what you mentioned before. It's like you were early in like innovation, and all of these things are very innovative. And I remember first meeting you talking about tech education and just some of the things that you're doing. So I'm so excited. I'm so excited for all of these
Thanks.
things. You are welcome. So,
Thank you,
Khalilah,
Monique.
yeah, of course, of course. And I just want to ask you, what does it mean to you to be Black in business?
That's a good question. I would definitely say to be Black in business, to be fearless.
Mm.
Yeah. Bold. Um, yeah, I think there's a level of empowerment that I have as an entrepreneur, as a Black
Mhm.
woman being an entrepreneur. I think about my ancestors. I think about my family. I think about my great grandmother who she opened up a beauty salon in Brownsville,
Mhm.
and she was an entrepreneur. And I never really thought about it. I think about it now, but growing up, I didn't really think about it that much. But I just think about how, fearless she had to be, how bold, how, powerful that was, to just step outside of what was just not the norm, you know,
Mhm.
in a time where, people said, that you can't do this and you can't do that. For her to say, no, I want to do this, and this is what I'm going to do. And I feel that way now. So I'm standing on the shoulders of greatness, of people who I know who wanted to do things, but probably just couldn't, due to the situations and circumstances of this country.
Mhm.
But the way I feel as being a Black entrepreneur, I feel like I'm taking back what was rightfully mine, and that's ownership. That's
Mm.
ownership, and that's a little bit of freedom.
Mm. Well,
You
it's rightfully mine. I love
know,
that.
rightfully mine. Yes.
Yes. And speaking of boldness, Khalilah, someone is listening and they're in their first year of business. I want to know, what advice would you give someone who is just starting in their first year?
In their first year, what advice I would say? I'm very, very transparent. I would, I would literally tell them. I would say to
Mm.
save money, to save as much money as you can, because entrepreneurship is very unpredictable, and there are times where things are very uncertain. So if you can save as much money as you can, so you can be prepared for those uncertainties and all the unpredictable things that may occur, then you're in a better position than I was.
Mm-hmm. Yes, transparency. I agree.
Okay. So,
Love it. Love
yep,
it.
yep.
Well, this has been so amazing. I truly thank you for taking the time to be on this show. And I'm so excited to see you continue to grow and also just be inspired and be a part of the journey. So thank you for being here, Khalilah.
You're welcome. And thank you, Monique, because I'm so inspired by your podcast, by your show, your level of commitment to just to allowing Black entrepreneurs to be seen and heard, I think is amazing, and it's powerful. And just thank you so much for doing this and for charging this.
Thank you. Thank you. You're welcome. I love what I do, so I'm just happy to be here.
It truly takes a village to build a company. And I love how Khalilah shared her own personal experience on how having a mentor impacted her life and has shaped who she is today. As we were having this conversation and looking at all of the amazing things that Khalilah has accomplished and created throughout her business journey, like she said, you can genuinely tell that giving back is ingrained in who she is. Just imagine the lives that she's helped transformed. And what I want you to take away from this is that this is why we have to prioritize giving back and passing the baton. You may now be in a season where you need a mentor, so please use the tips provided in this episode to make sure that you find you a great mentor. Additionally, don't forget to reach back and mentor someone else. Thank you so much for tuning in, and please share this episode. You can check out all the full show notes and resources mentioned by visiting blacktobusiness.com/87. Until next week, same time, same place.